I was sort of like, how's this gonna go? Because it's a 12 certificate, so the whole thing of like, is it gonna be good? Because the whole thing about Wolverine, he's a very violent character, and I was a bit like, it's probably still be good, but I don't know. We'll have to see. And I really like this movie. I mean, I know it's sort of getting like mixed reviews from like critics and fans seem to be on its side. Some fans are like, but most majority of people seem to really like it. And I mean, let's start off with Hugh Jackman, who I think is fantastic as Wolverine. He is just amazing. And every time you see him again, he's got more there, and it's sort of like there's something else in the performance. He adds something new to it, and that's always really watchable. And he's the kind of guy. He seems like he puts on so much muscle and weight, and well, not weight, but I mean like he has like certain weight about himself that he seems to want to play the role in the same way he wants to, and he doesn't want to like go too far with it, And he he's just incredibly just perfects his talent, and I think what's really interesting about this movie is to see a female villain. I know people shoot me down, but some people don't even want to see this movie, so I'm gonna say it. Female villain Viper, who is in the trailer, amazing, 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 amazing. Actually, probably my favorite female villain in the last 10 years, and that's counting Daryl Hannah's Elle Driver in Kill Bill. I mean, she is just amazing as a villain, and she's not in the entire movie, but she's in quite a lot of it. And when she's on screen, she completely owns it, and she's just fantastic to watch. Some villains you think they're really fun to watch, but I kind of hate them. I never felt like that with Viper. I just wanted to watch it all the time. She was on screen, and I wanted a little bit more of her, actually. Like, she's in the movie, quite a lot of time, but I wanted a bit more. But what we have is fascinating. I mean, maybe she'll get her own little movie. I don't know. That'd be great, I think. And maybe, I don't know, maybe having a villain sort of have a standalone movie. Maybe that's going too far. I don't know, but I think it'd still be fun to watch. Anyway, so we have her in the mix because I think it's interesting the way they've done it. That it's not just Wolverine; it's her and some other people have like mutant ability and stuff. Like there's obviously a character he meets the red hair like Japanese girl who can sort of knows about the future and stuff like that. Can read into the future, so that's cool. And I think the new characters are really well introduced. I think what little note to say about this movie is there's incredibly a lot of new characters you meet. So I found it a little bit hard to understand all the new characters in one go because it's a whole new movie. But when I got into the actual movie, I was like, oh, okay, like I get it now. But like at first, it was a bit like jumping around and going, and that's the only thing I would say about this movie. Like, not like bad, it's a little criticism. Like, I'm like, oh, there's quite a lot of stuff going on. I'm trying to make it all come together, and it did. And it's still like the action is just fantastic. I mean, it's the most amazing action I've probably seen next to Iron Man 3. It's amazing, and I also like the way they show him differently. That he's damaged, and the whole thing with Viper. Sorry, spoiler alert. Turn this off. You don't want to know that she damages him because she has like poison and stuff, and then she sort of damages him to the point where he becomes like a human again, starting to turn back, and he's weak. And before obviously in Origins, he was just sort of attacking everyone, and everyone just seemed to really hate that movie, and that he was just ridiculously unstoppable. I don't think it was that bad. I mean, X-Men Last Stand was not very good. I mean, the first half was good, and then it just all just kind of went smash bang, big mess. But then this movie, I think, is the second best X-Men movie we've ever had. It is just terrific, and I don't understand why people don't want to see this movie. They're insane, and it makes me angry that they don't want to see this movie. I think it's a really great movie, and You know, all the little in jokes of the franchise and the universe are great, and I think the end credit sequence is really gonna get people pumped up for the next movie. I think if you obviously know where we are in the world, I mean, you don't have to. It's not that thing of, oh yeah, Last End sucked, so like, you know, why don't we take some notice from this movie and that movie, and you know, I think it works well in the sort of things that we know's happened. So, you know, obviously Xavier did survive. If you watched obviously the bit at the end after Last Stand, even though the movie was terrible. Um, I mean, you know, certain key points, and I think it's certain key points that matter. And I think like obviously the Jean Grey thing's very interesting that he sees her through like all these dream sort of things, and she's not really there. And you know, that was quite an interesting thing they did with the character there, that she came the sort of, you know, like possessive bad girl kind of, you know. I know that there were a lot of people who really just went off crazy about that thing. I just think the movie didn't work that time. It didn't. It wasn't an X Men movie. It was just a bunch of things happening, and Brett Ratner obviously completely taking full control, and Bryan Singer off the map, and it didn't really work at all. Apart from the first 40 minutes, which was good, and then the rest of it just went. And this never happens. You know, there's never anything of it going off into a tangent. I mean, the action is just amazing to watch, and the characters are really enjoyable. I think the main characters you really get the sense of the girl with the red hair and the girl who he starts to really sort of like look after and stuff, with the black hair and stuff. Because I got a little bit confused of like because they look quite similar, and I was like, oh, but I was like, oh yeah, I know it's that person now and stuff. But you know, it's a really good movie in that it never has like a sort of thing that Origins had, where it just sort of takes something and then changes it, and sort of rubs it out and goes, "No, that didn't happen. No, this." You know, I mean, Origins was fine, but it just I enjoyed it. It's just it didn't have the rest of the X Men movies. What they had didn't have like a depthness to it. It was just sort of little bit of pop and then sort of going off, and it had good stuff in it, but then I think it didn't have enough to make it a really great X Men movie like this. You know, I think what was interesting about this movie is you really get into the character of Wolverine this time. There's none of this stuff of, oh, well, there's this thing going on before, which I didn't mind before. Like everyone else, obviously, really hated it, but I felt that this movie you got a real sense of Wolverine, and it didn't change something. It was something completely new and different, which can't be messed around with. And obviously, if you know about the Jean Grey thing, you obviously know that he killed her, and then he starts having all these things that he thinks that she's still there, even though she's dead. But she knows she's obviously not with him. But you know, I think because it was really interesting. 'Cause, spoiler alert again. Near the end of the film, he almost dies, but then he doesn't die, and then he has his last sort of conversation with her, and she leaves because he's never gonna pass over and die, because she says, "I'll be with you, just die, and I'll be with you forever and stuff," and da da da, and like trying to twist him and trying to. She's very sort of like a possessive, twisty kind of that personality, you know. And the whole thing about, is the movie boring? Is the movie this? Is the movie mess around with this? Or does it? No, I don't think it does, and I think it's so much better than people should be saying. Oh, I don't want to see this movie. I think that's just stupid. And if you don't like Origins, fine, but don't judge that with this movie. I think that's pathetic. I'm sorry, I really do. And I'm never going to understand it, and I won't until, you know, this movie stands the test of time in like 12 years later, and I'm like, oh yeah, we never watched that movie. And it's like, what? Are you high? But never mind. If they don't want to watch it, fine. Just move on with your lives and watch some other movie that people are really interested in, and not this one for some reason, which makes no sense. Because usually when a movie gets so hyped up and people want to look forward to it, everyone watches it, I thought, but yeah, forget it. Anyway, so Hugh Jackman is amazing. Viper is amazing as the female villain. I think she's just amazing. I mean, there's one key scene, spoiler alert, that she's seen as a prostitute, and
she's asked by this guy, how much are you? And she just like kisses him, gives him a kiss of death and kills him. I just think it's a fantastic scene, and I also love. There's this, another spoiler alert. Sorry. I love the scene when there's a big fight going on because obviously the guy who he saved in the war as many years ago is obviously dead. He dies because he wants to swap over Logan's thing to make him obviously live longer, and then obviously it doesn't happen, and then he dies. So then they go to the funeral, and then Logan has this sort of thing that it's not all right about, oh, what's going on, because it all looks kind of dodgy. Then all of a sudden, there's people dressed up, and they're Yakuza people, really, underneath their clothes and everything. And then she starts filming all the violence going on, being really like sadistic, and I thought that was a fantastic scene. Just her just it being really sick and twisted, but not sick and twisted. I don't like it. It just worked so well, and the fact that she's recording it, and then somebody goes to attack her, and then she just goes and just attacks them back and just kills them or whatever, and knocks them out. Just fantastic. And I think he kind of knew that there was something not right with her, which I found really interesting to watch. You know, like yeah, he's like, yeah, that's not right. You know, and yeah. So I think the movie's incredible. I think it's the second best X Men movie we've ever had. So much depth to it, so much reward out of it. Really good jokes and little things in there, and stuff the fans will recognize, which I think is great because you don't feel like it's hyperbole. Like, oh, let's just make up some random stuff that isn't X Men, like X-Men 3, which just went off on a little tangent of nothing. And yeah, I mean, I think the end credits scene is the staple now for the next movie, which is great, as I've said. And obviously, that is the next X-Men movie, and I believe that's it. So if there's any more after that, then maybe they're running it too far. But I think from X-Men First Class, from X-Men 1, X-Men 2, Wolverine, sort of, which was good, but then could be better. And this movie, I think it ranks X Men 2, The Wolverine, X Men 1, then X Men First Class, and then last place will be Wolverine Origins. So, and I think what's good about this movie is there isn't so many villains that we've seen before. It's something completely different, like Viper, which was an amazing new character. And I liked it. It's not like with Origins, like you had Deadpool and you had that person, you had that person, and you had, it just seemed like they were throwing too many people in, like characters. And I think this is exceptional because they've taken something that someone who is a character before, but it's not done in a sort of, oh, let's just throw this person on the screen. It's done with real care and detail, and I think it's a fantastic performance. And I don't even know who this actress is, but she's amazing. And I think she's up on a real high now, done this role. And I know it sounds like I'm really bigging it up, but she really is that good. If you watch this movie and don't get the character, then I just don't understand, like, anything. Why you don't get her? Because she's great. Anyway, so I give this movie a 9.5 out of 10. It's amazing.